Hey everybody, welcome back to the YouTube channel. Once again, we are Buffalo Eternal. We are a 100% proxy-friendly legacy club based out of Buffalo, New York, where our motto is we like to play our opponents, not their wallets. We have a pretty unique game on the YouTube channel today. One deck that everybody who has played Legacy is very familiar with, and one of our Covenant Brewers had actually brought his deck with him today, so we were able to get him behind that camera, and we were going to see how this goes. Without further ado, let's go watch some Legacy. Our first deck list here is brought to you by Jeff, who's our resident Maverick player, however decided to play some Eldrazi. Eldrazi is a deck that utilizes fast and aggressive gameplay to try to end the game as fast as possible. You use cards like Ancient Tomb and Eldrazi Temple to try to get ahead of the curve while utilizing the colorless pips and the colorless mana to play Eldrazi creatures. They use creatures like Eldrazi Linebreaker and Reality Smasher to try to end the game as fast as possible. You have some utility cards like Thought Not Seer, which allows you to exile a card from your opponent's hand, and you also have copies of Waterscape Battle Mage, which kicked for green allows you to exile a target artifact or an enchantment opponent controls, or for one in blue kicker, you can return a creature an opponent controls to its owner's hands. You also have the alternative win con with multiple copies of Glaring Fleshraker that whenever you cast a colorless spell, you create a 0-1 Scion, which allows you to sack for a colorless mana. However, the biggest component of this card is if a colorless creature enters the battlefield, the Glaring Fleshraker will deal 1 damage to each opponent. With multiple copies of Glaring Fleshraker on the battlefield, along with casting a couple of colorless spells or a big Kozilek's command, allows you to close the game out very quickly. And going over the deck list here, we have 4 copies of Ancient Tomb, 4 copies of Eldrazi Temple, 4 Glaring Freshrakers, 4 Cavern Souls, 4 Eldrazi Linebreakers, 4 Reality Smashers, 3 copies of Wastegate Battle Mage, 4 Chalice of the Voids, 2 Basic Wastes, 4 Kozilek's Commands, 3 Eye of Ugins, 4 copies of Lotus Petal, 4 Thought Not Seers, 4 copies of It That Heralds the End, 4 Petrified Hamlets, and a shout out to the 4 copies of Secluded Courtyard with the Rochester Royal stamp on them, looking beautiful as always. And for the sideboard here, it looks like 3 Disruptor Flutes, 2 Grafdigger's Cage, 2 copies of Eldrazi Obligator, a copy of Unlicensed Hearse, 3 Dismembers, 2 Fairy Macabres, and 2 Null Rods. And this beautiful pile of spice is brought to us by Aaron. Aaron is a resident brewer within our Legacy community, always keeping his finger on the Legacy meta pulse to try and build decks that either prey on the top of the meta or approach the meta from an angle in which not a lot of people are seeing. I always love seeing Aaron's brews, and I am so glad I was able to catch this one on camera. Aaron describes this deck as a Golgari Tempo deck. The objective of the deck is to ramp up a Eumidian hatchery while slowing down the opponent early game with Thought Seizes and Wastelands, and actually leveraging the permanents leaving the battlefield with Moonshadow. Then flooding the board with bugs by his Eumidian hatchery with either Elvish Reclaimer or Witherbloom Charm sacrificing it, which allows Aaron to go wide in the air, or utilizes Gaia's Cradle with Green Sun Zenith for Craterhoof Behemoth in order to close the game out. And a quick sidebar here, there are some cards in this deck that might not be noticeable even for seasoned Legacy players, so I thought I'd take a quick sidebar and go over the cards. A card that has started poking its head up in a lot of these Golgari lists is Eumidian Hatchery, which Aaron has 3 copies of. Eumidian Hatchery is a land where you could tap to pay 1 life and add a black mana, which puts a hatchling counter onto the land. The reason why that is good is when this land is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, for each hatchling counter on it, you create a 1/1 black insect creature token with flying. Now, in decks like this and the Golgari lists is actually pretty resilient, pretty reliable actually. You have very consistent ways to sacrifice this with crop rotation, Elvish Reclaimer, and even in Aaron's case, a Witherbloom Charm. Now, the next card we're going over is actually Witherbloom Charm. It is a instant speed Golgari spell, so it is one black and one green, and you could choose one of three modes. You may sacrifice a permanent. If you do, draw two cards. The second mode is you gain 5 life, and the third mode is destroy target non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less. All three of these modes are actually pretty good. Being able to sacrifice your hatchery at instant speed to make a bunch of flyers, to draw two cards, gaining 5 life to potentially give him that additional turn in order to close the game out, or to mitigate the damage that you're receiving from your hatchery. And in the legacy format, destroying target non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less hits a considerable amount of stuff in the formats here. Now, granted, this next card here, I had to actually look up for myself because I was not all that familiar with it. It is a 2 and a green Kindred's Sorcery Shapeshifter, which is Formless Genesis. It is a changeling, which this card is every creature type, and the spell itself creates a XX colorless shapeshifting creature token with Changeling and Death Touch, where X is the number of land cards in your graveyard. This spell also has Retrace, which you may cast this card from your graveyard by discarding a land card in addition to paying its other costs. Now, this card is a 2 of in Aaron's deck, and let me tell you, I didn't know this card existed, and the time I played against this deck, trust me, that card made a huge difference. It doesn't take a lot for him to have land cards in his graveyard with his 4 copies of Wasteland, Boseiju, sacking the hatchery, flooding the graveyard with Dredge with Life from the Loam, and 3 copies of Crop Rotation. It really does not take a lot for him to either have a big changeling creature token or the ability to consistently retrace it. And to quickly go over the deck list here, we have 2 copies of Basic Forests, 2 Basic Swamps, 2 copies of Underground Mortuary, 4 Verdant Catacombs, 3 Eumidian Hatcheries, 1 Gaia's Cradle, 1 Boseiju, 1 Bayou, 4 Wastelands, 1 Shifting Woodlands, 3 Grease Sun Zeniths, 3 Crop Rotations, 2 Life from the Willows, 4 Witherbloom Commands, 3 Thoughtseize, 2 copies of Formless Genesis, and 3 Mox Diamonds. Then the creature package here, we have 4 Moonshadows, 3 Elvish Reclaimers, 3 Badgermole Cubs, 3 Barrowglyphs, 2 Orcish Bowmasters, 1 copy of Greater Hood Behemoth. There's also a Dryad Arbor, and 2 copies of Grist the Hunger Tide. And on the sideboard, we have 1 Bojuka Bog, 1 Maze of Ith, 3 copies of Cabal Therapy, 2 more additional Orcish Bowmasters, a Fairy Macabre, 1 Collector Oof, 2 Endurance, 2 Disruptor Flutes, and 2 copies of Abrupt Decay. If you're a big fan of old school, you could join the Rochester Royals Club as they are hosting an afternoon of old school magic on Saturday, August 15th. The venue will be Three Heads Brewing Company, and they will be playing Atlantic, and this event will directly be raising money for the Brighton Food Cupboards. The doors open at 12, where round 1 fires at 1 p.m. This is a $10 entry fee, but a donation to the Brighton Food Cupboards is suggested. There is a 32-player cap on this event. It is straight Swiss, and this is also playtest and proxy friendly. So if you want to have a good event with some amazing people with a lively, great community, please join the Rochester Royals group out and help them support a good cause. Buffalo Turtle is hosting a proxy-friendly 1K Legacy event Saturday, August 29th at Heart of the Game. The LGS doors open at 10 a.m. and we'll be firing the event at 1 p.m. Once again, we are 100% proxy friendly, so if you've ever wanted to try Legacy, this would be the best time for you to do so. The entry is $30, and for rules on the proxies, or if you want to join our community, you can scan the QR code or check the links down below. All right, we're gonna head right into the match here. Jeff had run the dice roll and he's deciding to keep his 7. Aaron has to mulligan here, so he will be going down 1 card. And he puts the card back on the bottom and let us start the game. That is a Cavern of Souls, naming Eldrazi. Shocker there. Alright, and Aaron's first turn. Let's see what he's going to do here. Looks like a basic forest, and then we are going to play an Elvish Reclaimer, and then we're going to pass the turn here. Jeff's going to draw a card. An Eldrazi Tempo. The Cavern of Souls is going to make red mana, it looks like, and we're going to cast an Eldrazi Linebreaker, and we're going to swing in for 4. Aaron is at 16, so let's see. Aaron draws a card, and let's see what Aaron decides to do here. Aaron is going to play a Wasteland. Looks like he is going to waste that Eldrazi Temple. Now, Eldrazi Linebreaker by itself is a very potent card, so there's a chance that if Aaron does not have an answer for this Eldrazi Linebreaker, that he's going to lose life very quickly, and he's passing the turn. Jeff's going to draw a card here. Looks like Ivugan, which gives all of your Eldrazi spells 2 generic less to cast. We're going to tap the Cavern of Souls for a colorless mana. Cast the Glaring Fleshraker and a Lotus Petal, which triggers Glaring Fleshraker. This is the card that a lot of these Eldrazi decks absolutely love, and even colorless decks, that whenever you cast a colorless spell, you get a 0/1 Scion. The best part though is when a colorless creature enters the battlefield, Glaring Fleshraker will deal 1 damage to each opponent. So the Scion coming in will trigger Glaring Fleshraker and putting Aaron down to 15. That's going to move to combat, trigger the Eldrazi Linebreaker. He's going to target itself. It gives +1/+0 for each Eldrazi creature you control on the battlefield. And looks like in response, Aaron is going to crop rotation. He's going to sacrifice his forest here. What is he going to grab? Oh, so it just looks like the players are shortcutting this. Aaron went to crop rotation, get Wasteland, hitting the Eye of Ugin, which actually makes the Elvish Reclaimer a 3/4, so he's able to trade with the Eldrazi Linebreaker. However, Aaron is down to no permanents, so let's see how he tries to get out of this predicament that he has put himself into. Looks like Aaron is putting in an underground mortuary, surveilling the top card of his deck, seeing if it's something that could potentially help him as the game progresses. Depending on what is in Aaron's hand, I don't really know too much as to what is going to help him. And he's going to pass the turn to Jeff. And Jeff's going to draw here. Looks like an Ancient Tomb. Going to tap 2, which is going to deal 2 damage to himself. 4 with the Eldrazi Scion token, and 5 with the Lotus Petal. We're going to cast a Reality Searcher. Aaron has seen enough. Aaron is deciding to scoop here. Eldrazi doing Eldrazi things, just trying to get the damage in as quickly as possible, trying not let your opponent establish a comfortable position or get any kind of footing underneath them. Unfortunately, Aaron was unable to do that. However, Eldrazi does not always win games, and Aaron knows his deck very well, so let's see how game 2 goes. Alright, we're back here for game number 2. Aaron is going to more than likely be on the play here. Everybody is going to draw their 7, and hopefully we can get a back and forth game here. Everyone resetting their life totals back to 20. Jeff saying that he's going to keep. And looks like Aaron's going to keep his hand, so let's see how this game plays out. Oh, maybe not. Oh, no, Aaron is keeping his hand. All right, turn one, basic swamp and a thought seize. Let's see what Jeff kept. Looking to be two thought not seers, a reality smasher, two hamlets, an ancient tomb, and a secluded courtyard. Aaron's gonna go down two for thought seize, and pass the turn to Jeff. Jeff's gonna draw. Hamlet is going to name Wasteland here. One of the better ways to combat the Eldrazi deck is to disrupt their mana. It looks like we're going to grab a Verdant Catacomb, and we are going to crack the Verdant Catacomb. Let's see what Aaron finds. Aaron has a good amount of turn 2 plays here. We can play Badgermole Cub, potentially a Orcish Bowmaster, which isn't the best against Jeff's deck, however, a flash threat is still a flash threat at the end of the day. We can also play a Elvish Reclaimer here. We have some other options in Aaron's deck as well, but let's see what Aaron does with this land. Aaron taking a quick think about what he's going to do this turn. And looks like a Badgermole Cub, which he will Earthbend his Bayou. That means that a land becomes a 1/1 creature, and Badgermole Cub states that all your mana dorks do produce one additional mana. But Aaron is past turn. Looks like Jeff played another Hamlet, naming Verdant Catacombs, and put a Chalice on a 1. Now let's see what Aaron can do with that. Turns off a couple cards in Aaron's deck, but let's see if Aaron is actually concerned about the Chalice here. Taking a quick think. And a quick reminder for Badgermole Cub, I'll have it on the screen right here. Oh, swinging for 2 with the Badgermole Cub. But a quick reminder on the Badgermole Cub that that land does produce 2 mana when it taps. So Aaron does have 4 mana up right now. So Aaron could potentially do something with this mana here. And it looks like he's just going to pass the turn back to Jeff. Jeff's going to play Ivugan, which is a reminder, makes all of your Eldrazi spells 2 generic mana less, and it looks like a Thought Not Seer hits the battlefield. Before that trigger hits the stack, looks like Aaron is going to flash in an Endurance. Tell Jeff to put that Reality Smasher back underneath its deck, and we are going to reveal a Elvish Reclaimer, a Wasteland, and a Thoughtseize. Reminder, the Wasteland is turned off by Jeff's Hamlet. So it looks like Jeff is passing the turn, and Aaron on end step is going to tap the hatchery to put a hatchling counter on it. Don't need to use the mana. Hatchling counter still goes onto it. Once again, Aaron still cannot use that wasteland to destroy target non-basic land because the Hamlet has turned it off. However, he is still able to tap it for colorless mana. Aaron passing the turn here. Jeff untapping and drawing. Let's see what Jeff does with his turn here. Secluded Courtyard, naming Eldrazi. Let's see what Jeff does here. Jeff tapping Ivugan, but that does not produce mana, but it's still fine. The 2 Hamlets are going to pay for the actual cost of that Thought Not Seer, and Jeff is going to hit the Elvish Reclaimer that was in Aaron's hand. So he's going to double block. He is going to kill the Endurance, but when Thought Not Seer leaves the battlefield, the player gets to draw a card. So Aaron draws a card and passes the turn, and he draws per turn. Let's see what Aaron... And another Wasteland. That Hamlet putting in some work this game for sure. Let's see. Aaron's got 2 cards in hand. So looks like Jeff also has 2 cards in hand. We're taking a quick think about what we're going to do here. Looks like we are actually tapping the Bayou for 2 mana, and then the 2 Wastelands, so this will be a Green Sun Zenith for X equals 3. Let's see what Aaron gets here. And it looks like Aaron's actually going to grab a Grist the Hunger Tithe, which is actually a Planeswalker. However, has an ability for as long as Grist the Hunger Tide isn't on the battlefield, it is a 1/1 insect creature token in addition to its other types. So it is a green creature, so he is able to Green Sun Zenith for it. And Aaron making a really smart play here, down-ticking Grist, sacrificing his Airbend Bayou to kill the second Thought Knotseer to clear the way for the Badger Mole Cub, and airbending is whenever the land leaves the battlefield, it returns back untapped. So it's no longer a creature, but however, Aaron just traded nothing to kill a Thought Seer. It's a very smart move by Aaron. Let's see how Jeff responds here. Jeff's got nothing, and he actually passes the turn back to Aaron. Aaron making the exceptional play of Green Sun Zenithing for Grist puts himself in a very good position. Jeff not really having any creatures is definitely not where Eldrazi wants to be, especially in mid to late game. Aaron upticking Grist, which gives you a 1/1 insect creature token, and you mill the top card of your deck. And if you mill an insect this way, you repeat that process. Aaron digging for the token. Thankfully, our Maverick Connoisseur here has a token to use for that. And it looks like it was a Barrowglyph as the follow-up. Aaron taking a damage from the hatchery to cast that Barrowglyph. Looks like we have a Life Run alone. We are going to grab a Verdant Catacombs and a Underground Mortuary. Aaron is actually in a pretty solid spot. Again, Eldrazi not having creatures is not where you want to be while playing this deck. Underground Mortuary hits battlefield. Surveil. Let's see if Aaron keeps this on top of his deck. And Survey says... And it looks like we're binning the Crop Rot. Very smart with the Chalcon 1 on the battlefield. And back to Jeff. He's going to play an Ancient Tomb, tap an Eldrazi Temple, and play another Thought Knotseer. We're going to see a Verdant Catacombs and a Moonshadow, and rightly so, Moonshadow is exiled. Jeff passes back the turn to Aaron. Now let's see what he is going to do with his turn. Verdant Catacombs for the land drop. Hamlet is still turning that off, so not really serving too much of purpose. We're getting a uptick on Grist. Again, we are going to get another insect token and mill a card. We're going to mill a Thoughtseize. Aaron's probably happy with that, with the Chalice on 1. We're swinging a 3/4 Barrowglyph into a Thought Knotseer. Barrowglyph does have Death Touch and Lifelink, so Aaron is going to get that life back, and Aaron is also going to draw from the Thought Knotseer dying. And passes the turn back to Jeff. Jeff draws and passes. That is definitely not something you want to be doing as a Eldrazi player. Especially Aaron starting to pump out a bunch of these insect tokens. We're down ticking again. Swinging with 3 insect tokens and a Badgermole Cub. Jeff draws, plays an Ancient Tomb. Maybe he has something here. He is trying to start getting some stuff on the battlefield. He needs to be proactive with this. He is passing the turn. Aaron is going to tap the hatchery, put another counter on it. Aaron just grouping up the tokens and forgetting to untap his Badgermole Cub. But we're friendly here. Mistakes do happen. We do know that that Badgermole is untapped. Looked like Aaron consolidating the tokens. Swinging the Badgermole Cub and the 2 insect tokens here. Aaron is Up taking his hatchery, put another counter on it, but casting Moonshadow was countered by Chalice. That's about the fourth spell, I believe, this game that was countered by Chalice. Okay, looks like Jeff's going for a big spell here. Oh, actually, he is using Ivugan's ability. For 7 mana, you can tap it and search for a colorless creature in your deck and put it directly into your hand. So he's tapping out for the Reality Smasher, which could definitely help Jeff in this position. It is a 5/5, and it has haste and trample. Alright, looks like Jeff made his decision here. He's going to keep that Reality Smasher from the Eye of Ugin. Alright, let's see what Jeff does this turn. We are untapping. We're going to draw. So we know right now that Jeff has one Reality Smasher in hand, so he actually has a creature. We're tapping the Eldrazi Temple for an Eldrazi creature spell, and a Concealed Courtyard for a Reality Smasher. Jeff puts a Lotus Petal down. 1, 2, 3. Oh my! It is a second Reality Smasher. So Jeff is going to move to combat. He wants to swing the Reality Smasher at Grist. Yeah, so Jeff essentially saying that, oh, I'm going to be swinging both the Reality Smashers at Grist, but he knew one of them were going to be Maze of Ith, so he just left it untapped. So that is fine, but Grist is down. Alright, 1 green mana, crop rotation. He is going to sack the hatchery. The ability is going to be countered by Chalice, but however, Aaron still gets his insect tokens, which will be enough to close this game out. Aaron showing why this deck actually can definitely put up a good fight against anything in the top of the meta. Fantastically piloted by Aaron here, showing that the Eldrazi deck can be answered. However, we are going to be moving on to game 3 here. If it is as good as game 2, this sure definitely will be a game to watch, so stay tuned. Alright, and we are back for this game 3. Really looking forward to seeing how this one turns out. Both players keeping 7. Jeff putting a basic waste onto the battlefield and casting Grafdigger's Cage, which actually turns off Aaron's fetching 4 Dryad Arbor and any cast of Green Sun Zenith. So let's see what Aaron does here. Put a Underground Mortuary onto the battlefield, surveilling, keeping the card on top of his deck. Jeff playing a Secluded Courtyard, naming Eldrazi, and casting a Waste Escape Battle Mage. No kicker. It is still a 2/2 body. Looks like Aaron is going to Wasteland that. It looks like Jeff is back down to his basic Waste. Looks like an Eye of Uggin's hitting the battlefield, and we're going to swing with the Waste Escape Battle Mage for 2. And we're going to pass the turn here. Another Wasteland hitting the Eye of Ugin. Does Jeff have a third and another Eye of Ugin? All right, we just time walked ourselves, so let's see what this turn brings around. A third Wasteland hitting another Eye of Ugin. Let's see if Jeff has a fourth land, and we're back to square one from quite some time ago. And we're swinging with the Escape Battle Mage. Sorry, this is just, that was funny. 3 Wastelands in a row will definitely do it. We are casting Life from the Loam, grabbing all 3 Wastelands. This is going to be an interesting game. So Aaron picks up all 3 Wastelands. I think Aaron has to move to discard. He definitely has. Oh, there's got to be more than 8 cards. He was counting pretty high up there. So Jeff. Untap this creature, but Aaron is just moving to discard. He's going to discard a Verdict Catacomb, and it looks like a hatchery. Alright, so we're passing back to Jeff's turn. Chalice on 1, combat swing for 2. Aaron is starting to get his life total chunked, but the fact that Jeff is not finding lands while Aaron is just raining wastelands from his side of the battlefield, that is wasteland number 4. So let's see what is going to continue here. Looks like Jeff is just going to be swinging with the Whitescape Battle Mage. And passing the turn to Aaron, no land drop. That can be slightly concerning. Aaron actually using his Wasteland for mana. Quite surprising there. But he is putting a Barrowglyph on the battlefield. Currently is a 2-3. Thank you, Aaron. And past the Jeff's turn, he's going to put a Secluded Courtyard down, naming Eldrazi. Looks like he has 3 mana. And Jeff is going to cast an Eldrazi Obligator. And it looks like it's 2 in a red as devoid, so it is colorless. But when you cast Eldrazi Obligator, you can pay 1 and a colorless. If you do, gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap it, and it gains haste and itself has haste. However, Jeff seeing, I think, 4 or 5 wastelands at this point, he's not going to have the mana to steal the Barrowglyph. And Lotus Petal going to the bin makes Barrowglyph a 3-4. So inadvertently actually helping Aaron here. Alright, let's see what Aaron does with his turn. Just reminding the Eldrazi Obligator is a 3-1 with haste. We are wastelanding another one of Jeff's lands. Deja Vu and another wasteland. Life from the Loom definitely putting in its work in this game. Another showcase of if you are able to control the mana base for the Eldrazi deck. It's a little bit more difficult for the Eldrazi players to get that much further ahead. So Aaron passes the turn back to Jeff. Jeff untaps, draws. Looks like he's going to play a Hamlet, and I do believe this is naming Wasteland. And then Jeff passes the turn back to Aaron. Shout out to the LGS dog Vesemir, keeping all of us protected here at Heart of the Game. Aaron thinking about what he could do with his turn, playing the hatchery, probably stumped that he can no longer wasteland Jeff into oblivion, so he's got to figure out what to do with those wastelands. Alright, we're going to tap 3 mana here, and we're going to cast Grist. Aaron taking 8 damage from the hatchery. We're going to mill the top card of the deck. It looks like a Mox Diamond, a Buffalo Eternal exclusive Mox Diamond. Brought to us by the lovely Pete. Pete, we love you, buddy. Now, if you want to grab one of these for a potential commander deck, or if you want a play set to try and play a legacy deck that runs 4 Mox Diamonds, feel free to reach out to us. Alright, looks like Jeff is double blocking here. We are just reconfirming what the power and toughness of Barrowglyph is. And again, Barrowglyph is a 0-1. However, it is a gets +1/+1 for each type that is in the graveyard. So right now, looking at the graveyards here, we have a artifact from Mox Diamond and Lotus Petal. We have a sorcery from Life from the Loam. And there are more than enough wastelands in the graveyard to determine that land is a type that the Barrowglyph will get. So Jeff draws this turn here. And passes the turn. Definitely not what you want to see when you are playing Eldrazi. So Aaron drawing per turn. Looks like a Verdant Catacombs here. We are going to uptick with Grist, get a second insect token. Looks like we're going to mill a Moon Shadow. Aaron passing the turn to Jeff, keeping the insect tokens up. Jeff drawing and passing the turn. Jeff definitely not finding the lands that he needs to continue playing this game. But when you see 5 wastelands, you're going to have some hard time finding some lands. But looks like Aaron's just upticking on Grist, swinging with the 2 insect tokens. And passing the turn. Hopefully Jeff can find a land. He draws. And oh my gosh, he is passing the turn. Jeff is just not finding the lands he needs to continue playing this game. Meanwhile, Aaron just constantly having the ability to put one more power onto the battlefield per turn with this Grist. Looks like Aaron's going to uptick. We're checking the graveyard to see if downticking, if there's enough creatures in the graveyard for Jeff to lose more life, but deciding to just constantly keep putting more insect creature tokens on the battlefield. Aaron swinging with his 3 insect tokens. Are we going to do anything else here? And Aaron is going to pass the turn here. Come on, Jeff. We need to see some lands here. Looks like there's a Reality Smasher in hand. But we are... Fortunately, Jeff is not finding the lands. On end step, it looks like Aaron is going to flash in an Endurance. I think we are just trying to figure out how we want to pay for it. Aaron cracking a Verdant Catacombs to get that land. Okay, there we go. And then we are going to tap 3 and cast Endurance. Now, Endurance doesn't necessarily need to target anybody. It says up to 1, so Aaron is just going to decide to decline it. There's no reason for him to tuck his graveyard or his opponent's graveyard, just because if there's a potential for another Barrowgoyf, there is no reason to make that Barrowgoyf weaker. Aaron is going to tap the hatchery here for another black, so it's going to go 4. Just consolidated the tokens here. Aaron is going to draw. And it looks like Aaron is going to play a Shifting Woodlands for his land per turn. Jeff doesn't believe that we have Delirium. Actually, we do, because there is a Moonshadow in the graveyard. We're going to uptick with Gris, mill a Badgermal Cub, get another insect token, and we're going to swing for 7 here. Is that game? Jeff going to 8. And then Aaron passing the turn. Let's see what Jeff does here. Survey says. Alright, a Disruptor Flute naming Grist. So he is turning Grist off. And oh my gosh, look at that hand. Got some big beefy boys in there. Glaring Fleshraker. Looks like maybe 2 Reality Smashers. But unfortunately, those 7 Wastelands definitely came into effect this game. That Wasteland be doing Wasteland things. But it looks like Aaron's going to take this game 2-1. Jeff probably laughing it off. Don't worry, he's a good sport about these things. But that is game. Again, Aaron taking this game 2-1, showcasing off that beautiful spicy deck of his. Always going to be seeing him around. You might be seeing him jump from brew to brew. But other than that, just want to say thank you again for joining us here on the YouTube channel. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe for more content from Buffalo. Other than that, we'll see you later.